And her response, of course, is to go, eh, eh. So the first bubble over here will go to you, Anthony.
あ何言ってんだよ、お前。What did you just say?
What are you saying, you?
What are you saying?
何言ってんだろう。俺、13にして. It's like, yeah, what am I even saying? I'm as a third year middle schooler. What even am I saying? And this panel right here will go to you, Anthony.
そうか。おじいさんの話がかぶって。やべえ、超恥ずかしい。バカだと思われた。訂正しなくちゃ。That's right. I put on the my uncle's words of wisdom. I think that
It's just the
what he taught me
story. I wouldn't
at
really
the
say words
story.
of wisdom. Like story isn't necessarily the best word, but it's just what happened
Yeah.
to his uncle. You might just say,
Yeah.
I just got immersed in thinking about my uncle, would probably how I would translate that to sound more
Okay.
natural in English.
やべえ、超恥ずかしい. So that's dangerous. It's
Yabe
so
does not
やべえ.
mean abunai.
やばい. It's
Yabai.
yes.
Yeah, it's yabai.
やばい is like dangerous, right?
Not
やばい. So
really. I mean, it says dangerous, but I've never heard it ever used to mean dangerous.
I see. I guess it's a slang. Like
Yeah.
やべえ.
It's used to mean like, oh no, this is
Oh
horrible,
no.
terrible,
Oh,
awful. But
okay.
I personally have never heard it be used to mean dangerous. I guess you'd say a
Okay.
yabai person is a dangerous person.
Yeah.
Yabayat. But
Yeah.
I guess that's when you would use it as yabai.
Yeah. Okay. 超恥ずかしい means like uh it's super embarrassing. バカだと思われた. She's now going to think I'm a idiot.
はい。
訂正しなくちゃ. I better if I don't like correct this, then it won't do. It's
Perfect.
gonna good. Yeah.
Nice. Good way of literally translating that. Mashiro-kun, which is his name, Mashiro. Hi! すみません. なんていうか、今のは. He says, yes, it's me. So about what I said earlier, it's not that, it's just now. And the next panel here will go to you, to Anthony.
わかった。約束する。え、I understand. I promise. Huh?
何をですか? What? Promise what? Masaka kekkon no ken? Wait, are you talking about the marriage thing? Hi, yes. Whoa! And this panel here will go to you, Anthony.
やっべえ。どうなってる？いや、やばくない。あずきと結婚できる。やっべえ。Oh my god, this is unbelievable or something. It's exaggerating. どうなってる？What's gonna come up out of this? いや、やばくない。No, this is not at all a bad. This is not like something bad. あずきと結婚できる. I can get married with to Azuki.
Mhm. Yeah, I would probably
It's
translate
possible.
Yabakunai in this context as that's crazy. でも、
Ah,
夢が叶ったらね、それまではもう会わない. He says, but that's only once the dream gets granted, only when our uh, until then, we're not allowed to meet at all. And the next panel will be for you, Anthony.
もう会わない。もう会わない。なんだそれ。We won't meet anymore. Oh, what do you mean by that?
はいはいはい。
What's that?
漫画がアニメになって、あずきさんが声優をやる。それまで会わずに、いきなり結婚ですか？ So he says, so once my manga becomes an anime and Azuki becomes a voice actress, until then, we're not going to meet and then we're suddenly going to get married. And the next little bubble is going to go to you, Anthony.
うん。夢が叶うまでは、お互い様子を見せずに頑張るの。Yeah. Until the dream gets how do you say this? Gets
I don't know.
accomplished or gets
Yeah,
completed?
exactly.
Granted, until the dream gets granted.
Think you accomplished is
お互い
actually better. We say
ah
till your dreams come true. That's what we say in English. I
come
didn't know
true.
either. Gosh.
The dream comes true. お互い both of us 様子を見せずに頑張るの. Oh, let's do our best to not meet each other. Is
Exactly.
that
Yeah,
yeah,
not look
okay.
at the not interact it kind of. なんだそれ。ロマンチック街道つうか、きつくね。And he says, what even is this? This like weird romantic like path he's having us take. Wait, in the first place, this is like really strict. And the next bubble will go to you, Cookie.
Is Cookie here? Wait.
Oh, sorry, Anthony. Sorry, he's not here.
Oh, okay. それまではメールとかだけで励まし合うの。until then, we're going to like meet using like mail and we'll only use mail to like meet or encourage to use.
Yes, to encourage, yes. So au can mean to meet. However, you see how it's in the second position here? When au is in the second
Yeah.
position of a compound word, what is adding to the word is the idea of bothness, basically. The idea is that I would hagemas, but you would also hagemas back to me, so that we're actually using the match ow here rather than to meet ow.
Yeah.
I think they might
Okay.
have different kanji. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
this versus this. So they're very similar and they have the same pronunciation, but this one means like to match and this one means to meet. So it's the matching ow.
Okay.
So now my turn. 励まし合っちゃったのか。いいな。He says, ooh, both of us urging each other on sounds good. でも、なんで電話じゃなくてメール? But why is it that we're not calling each other but instead texting each other? いや、電話じゃ恥ずかしくて、話せない。Wait, a phone call is actually way too embarrassing. There's no way we'd talk. それを見越してメールか。I don't know what 見越して。Like going through seeing? 見越して。To anticipate.
Overlook.
No, this is anticipate. Good guess though, since that's like through over. So he says, so instead instead of having to have an embarrassing phone call, you can kind of like have a mail that you can kind of like, I guess you could kind of like foresee in a way. The idea is that you're preparing with the mail to like what you're going to write, basically, like planning for it kind of idea. 今まで話もできなかったんだ。ずっとメールできるだけでも. And he says, up till now, we haven't ever been able to have a conversation before. So perhaps the only thing we're actually going to be able to do is do so 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 he says perhaps we'll just be able to just do the sending the email text. And the next two panels here, we'll go to you, Anthony.
これ、おじさんと同じパターンじゃ、こういうことだったのが。this is some kind of, this seems like, isn't this like the same pattern that like my uncle, this thing, so this is, こういうことだったのか。So this is the thing. So this is what he experienced.
Yeah, it is kind of
That's
saying
what,
that. Yeah. That's a good way of translating that. Perfect. わかるわかるよ、おじさん。おじさんたちもこういううぶで、素敵な関係だったんだね。I get it. I get you now, uncle. You like the uncle, you two guys. The idea is that he's talking about the uncle and the person the uncle like, the woman. And in this kind of like ubu kind of way, this innocent, wonderful relationship to have. So rather than like a disgusting sexual relationship, it's very innocent. We just send text messages before we suddenly get married, type of idea. So next panel is for you.
でも、おじいさん、僕は夢が叶えば結婚する約束をした。僕の方が賭けの条件いいんじゃないかな。But おじいさん、僕は夢が叶えば、if my wish is, my dream is granted, 結婚する約束をした。There's like a, so if my dream has been granted, then marriage will, there will be like yakusoku.
So yakusoku is a noun, does not mean
Promise.
confession. It does mean promise. You're right. It's used with also in more ways, but it is promise in this context. So since this is a noun, to promise is a noun in Japanese, I guess a promise. This is a relative clause, kekkon. In this specific context, what you would actually do is do this right here, right? This right here is the relative clause. It's yume ga kanaeba kekkon suru yakusoku. So we're defining the promise that occurred rather than yume ga areba being a separate thing. Like it's not this clause and that clause. This is the relative clause. So what promise did he get?
The kekkon,
the yume ga kanaeba kekkon suru promise.
Okay. The dream, the marriage that if would happen if
he got a promise that if his dream comes true, he'll get married. Yes, that is the promise he got. Hi.
僕の方が賭けの条件いいんじゃない? As for me, so the stakes, the gamble of like the condition, my version of like your story is like much better. I think it's something like that.
Yes, the conditions of my kake, my gamble, is much better than some unmentioned item. Logically, we're talking about Oji-san, right? Because Oji-san had made a bet that his manga was going to turn into an anime. And when it turns into an anime, he'll go over and ask the girl of his dreams to marry him. But that didn't happen because he was a loser. and never talked to the girl of his dreams, and they only sent messages, and eventually she got married to somebody else. So he's saying my gamble is much better than his gamble because we already have a promise that says if I get my dream come true, then we'll get married. Versus the uncle's bet was if I get a manga, I'll confess. Was his bet. I'll ask her to marry
Yeah.
me. So he's saying my bet
Yeah.
is much, much better. Yada, do
Yes.
you hate that? Yeah, それでいいんです。かけます. Yeah, お願いします. And he says, no, just as that is perfect. I will bet it. I mean, no, thank you so much. And, sorry, I'll read that one too. お母さん来た。じゃあね. So he says, oh, my mom's coming. See ya. And these two
Okay.
panels here will go to you, Anthony.
2 panels. Okay. 俺は漫画家になる。I'm gonna become a 漫画家。俺の計算通り。いや、計算以上の結果だよ。最高。So it's like saying, this is all this is going according to my plan. No, it's surpassing what my plan was. Okay.
The
No
it was
結果。
kekka.
Yeah. The result is like it's surpassing it
Yes. The
surpass
result
my
surpasses my plan, but you
expectation.
translate that as it, which is very normal in English to not specify that is the result. So it is a okay pronoun to use here, because you already had
Okay.
kekka insinuated in there underneath the pronoun. And what is
Yeah.
cycle? What's
Okay.
that doing here?
It's great.
That's a
Psycho
good
is like
guess.
your
Psycho
joy,
is
like
this
some
guy's
joy.
nickname. It's a pun because
Yeah.
his name is the same kanji that shows up in the word for cycle, but it's read as taka something. I don't remember what it was. So
Yeah.
he's not saying that's great. He's saying cycle right there.
Ah.
Hi, 'cause that's his nickname. Um, 日本一の漫画になろう. Let's become number one manga in Japan. 日本一は無理だ. It's impossible to be number one in Japan. この少子化の時代、今更ドラゴンボールやワンピースは越せない. So he says, in this era in which there is a declining birth rate, there is no way that we'll be able at this point in time surpass One Piece or Dragon Ball. And the next bubble here will go to you, Anthony.
そういう分析は冷静だな。分析。I don't know what 分析 is.
Should be like analysis. The idea is that you are
Analysis.
breaking things into parts.
Okay, okay. そういう分析は冷静だな。As for that analysis, we're going to be cool about it. We're going to take things slow.
That analysis is very composed. That kind of.
Compose.
So he's basically more talking about him as a person, being like, yes,
Ah,
expected of Psycho, always having a very calm analysis of the situation. Because remember, this guy right here said, let's become number one in Japan. And Psycho's like, that's impossible. We can't do that. We have a declining birth rate, and One Piece and Dragon Ball got all the young generations when there's a whole lot of kids. There's not enough kids now for us to beat them out in bookshelves. And he's like, oh, well, that's Psycho right there, putting a bee in my bonnet. それと俺は漫画家になるが、まだお前と組とは限らない. Says, on top of that, even though I am going to become a mangaka, I still haven't actually decided that I'm just going to, like, group up with ya. And the rest of this here will go to you, Anthony.
ちょっと本屋に寄って帰る。おい、最高。ちょっと本屋に寄って帰る。I'm going to go to like the bookstore for a bit. Hey, psycho.
Hi, hi. Yotte is used when you're going to go somewhere on the way to something. So he says, on the way home, I'm going to stop by the bookstore.
Okay.
で、よく考えたら、あずきの、携帯番号も、メールアドも知らない。Wait, in the first place, I have no idea what Azuki's phone number is, nor what her mail address is. Next bubble here goes to you, Anthony.
その前に学校で会うし、二人きりでは会わないってことか。その前に、before that, 学校で会うし、学校で we're going to meet at the school. 二人きりでは会わないってことか。if it's just the two of if it's just the two of us, then we won't meet. Is it that thing?
Where did the probably come from?
Probably it's like the
Ah,
the question mark.
that makes sense. You're right. The ka there is denoting a question, so probably was a really good
Yeah,
idea of how to doing it. The probably though
yeah.
isn't probably won't meet. It's a probably koto. You see how this is in quotation marks here? That right there
Uh,
basically lets us know this te is a toyu, right? To define something. So something is being defined as futari kiri de awanai koto. So the event of not meeting as just the two of us. So the
uh,
probably isn't really in that area, it's outside of that area with
okay.
the other information that has been dropped. The thing that has been dropped is that Saiko has just made a promise with Azuki that the two of them will never meet ever again until they get married. But they actually will be meeting again because they have school tomorrow and they're in the same class. So she actually probably meant we're not going to meet the two of us alone rather than we're never ever going to meet until then. Have to jump out the window whenever Azuki comes down the hallway or anything like that. Yeah, いい。そんことこ後回しで. He says, it doesn't matter. That kind of thing is something that you just kind of, you'll cross that bridge when you come to it, is basically what it's saying, however that idiom is said. Um, Gosh, that is a manga cover. It looks like you grabbed porn. Let's go read you, Anthony.
なってやる漫画家に let's do it. Let's become a mangaka. Wait, やってやる漫画家。I'm going to become a mangaka. そして僕はあずきと結婚する。Then afterwards, I'm going to like get married to Azuki.
Perfect. And that is the end of chapter 1. This right here is just showing you what the names looked like for this chapter, basically, of like what they originally kind of like drew before it started to become
Uh,
the manga pages. To be like, what's the story? How do you align it? So I'm going
I
to
see.
stop the recording. Doo, doo, doo.